They had the brand, they had the engineering, they had decades of loyalty built corner by corner, market by market. The legacy automakers didn't just have resources, they had the entire roadmap already drawn. And when the SUV segment started its global explosion, they doubled down. New platforms, new nameplates, billions poured into factories spread across 3 continents. Analysts called it the inevitable consolidation of the automotive world. Investors called it a sure bet. Consumers called it progress. And still, they failed. While the establishment chased market share with badge swaps and recycled platforms, fighting over a shrinking slice of a market they no longer understood, something was being built quietly, in a different direction. Not in Detroit, not in Stuttgart, at the intersection of 2 engineering cultures that on paper had no business producing anything this sophisticated. A French icon and a Korean manufacturing machine, seated on top of a technology whose genetic origin traces directly back to Volvo's electrified architecture. Not a compromise, not a shortcut, and that's where the story gets out of hand. At first glance, the Renault Koleos HV delivers exactly what the name implies, a mid-size European SUV. Clean lines, serious proportions, a familiar name carrying familiar expectations. It parks like a normal SUV. It opens like a normal SUV. You sit down, the dashboard greets you with that calculated restraint that says premium without screaming it. And that's exactly where the trap is. Because the moment the car moves, something feels off. The delivery is too smooth, the response is too immediate, the silence where there should be engine noise is slightly unsettling, and then it clicks. The combustion engine hasn't even started yet. You're being moved by electrons, and the car made that decision before you even thought to ask. And that's still just the beginning. Under the hood of the Koleos HV lives a 1.5-liter turbocharged engine making 144 horsepower. Respectable, expected, forgettable on its own. But this car was never designed to work on its own. 2 electric motors, both positioned on the front axle, at a combined 136 horsepower and 233 pound-feet of torque. System peak output, 245 horsepower and 403 pound-feet of combined torque. That number doesn't build gradually. It doesn't climb through a long RPM sweep. It simply arrives. The 3-speed DHT transmission doesn't behave like a conventional gearbox. Its job is to orchestrate the handoff between thermal and electric propulsion with a precision your foot can't fully appreciate because by the time you notice the transition, it's already done. But what comes next changes everything. The battery, 1.64 kilowatt hours, tucked into the center tunnel in the same architectural position used by Geely Group across its entire electrified lineup, including models that wear the Volvo badge, isn't large. It doesn't need to be. This isn't a plug-in hybrid designed to simulate EV behavior. It's a conventional hybrid engineered to eliminate inefficiency. The system charges itself, manages its own thresholds, and decides every millisecond whether torque should come from electrons, combustion, or both simultaneously. The driver's job is to decide where to go, and this is where the gap becomes uncomfortable. The platform underneath the Koleos HV isn't Renault's. It comes from Geely Group, the same group that owns Volvo today and produces the EX40 and EC40. The same group whose engineering was considered good enough for Volvo to trust it with a global platform. Renault didn't borrow this technology out of financial necessity. They chose it because it was better. And then they wrapped it in bodywork styled independently, with no visual debt to its Chinese cousin, the Manjaro. The result is a car that looks like a Renault, drives like an evolved system, and is built in Korea on architecture proven by Sweden. At this point, it's no longer a competition. Now look at what's across the aisle. The BYD Song Plus arrives with its own hybrid system, its own tech stack, its own pricing aggression. On one side, a car built by a company that manufactures its own batteries, its own semiconductors, and its own charging ecosystem. On the other, a car built on a platform shared with Volvo, wrapped in Alpine's design language with 3 12.3-inch screens, tri-zone climate control with heating for all occupants, front seat ventilation, a dedicated passenger screen, noise-canceling audio, adaptive cruise, autonomous emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, lane assist, and automatic high beams. One plays volume, the other plays sophistication. One competes on price with every weapon available, the other refuses to compete on those terms. This isn't a comparison, it's a generational gap. This car doesn't compete, it replaces, and that's where the industry loses control of its own story. The Renault Coleus HV Alpine Spreen arrives in a single trim level, Spreen, marking the first direct intervention of the Alpine division into an SUV at this price point. 20-inch wheels, an exterior kit with enough presence to make the car identifiable from a block away, satin paint options available, bright chrome is gone entirely, replaced by gloss black and electric blue accents. This is not a comfort package with a sporty sticker on it. The Alpine division does not do stickers. Inside, the cabin is 3 screens unified into a single continuous surface. Driver information, the central interface, and then, breaking the convention of virtually every competitor in the segment, a dedicated passenger screen. Not a shared screen, a delivered screen. The 3-zone climate system ensures the car treats every occupant as an individual. The headliner is dark fabric, not vinyl, not faux leather, not reflective beige. The seats are in suede. The audio system doesn't just play music, it cancels the noise that competes with it. Now put that against the North American reality, a car capable of running in predominantly electric mode through city traffic without depending on charging infrastructure, which is still inconsistent across much of the continent, while delivering everything the combustion engine offers on open highway. In a market where total cost of ownership matters just as much as the sticker price, that equation carries serious weight. And the next level is where everything comes apart. Remember where we started, the billions spent by legacy automakers who believed the formula was protecting market share through brand loyalty and incremental updates. They understood the market as it was and invested accordingly. That's exactly how you become irrelevant, because the market wasn't waiting for them. It was waiting for this, a car built on the best available architecture on the planet, styled in one of the most recognizable design languages in performance motorsport, sold by a brand that stepped away from the midsize segment for years and came back with something that no longer apologizes for its ambitions. The Coleus HV enters the market as a premium import, positioned above the mid-range competition and aimed squarely at the best China is currently exporting. And here's what that actually means. You're standing at a crossroads where the past is still moving, inertia is powerful, and the brands you grew up with still show up, still fight, but the foundation underneath the industry has already shifted. The platform came from Geely, the design came from Alpine, the hybrid architecture came from a collaboration that didn't exist 5 years ago. And the result is a car that cannot be explained by any single country of origin, any brand heritage, any isolated engineering tradition. You're not choosing a car, you're choosing which era you belong to. The industry that failed wasn't stupid, it was committed to the last version of reality, to the last map, to the last formula that had always worked before. The Coleus HV isn't a warning, it's a consequence. The problem isn't that it arrived, the problem is you're still looking in the rearview mirror.